That Washington football team is really fucking good.
Everything we do is going to be about winning. Okay, we're going to learn to do things the right way, and that's the only way we're going to do them. Because if it doesn't help us, we're not doing it, man. That's just as simple as it gets. Win the Super Bowl. That's I mean it, too. You know, one of the things that the only reason you become a head coach in this league, in my opinion, is to win. That's it. That's the bottom line. If you do it for any other reason, you're wrong.
Hey, Washington football fans, welcome back. So, getting to this point, a point where it looks like we have a realistic shot at the playoffs, has taken a tremendous amount of preparation from the coaching staff and the personnel group. And I was all ready to run them out of town, but it's really a testament to what they've done that's kind of brought us to where we are now, where we have a shot. And regardless of how hard the league tries to reduce them, injuries and football just go hand in hand. That's just how it is. But a huge part of our success has been the preparation for these injuries and the fact that we've had players deep into our bench capable of coming in and playing good football. You know, it's put us in a spot where, you know, we could go out there and win games. And now we're in a spot where we could possibly even win the division. Back-to-back years. It's the first time anybody in this division's done it in like almost 20 years. Maybe 20, somewhere around there. That would be a huge feather in our cap, but we don't even have to do that to get in the playoffs. We've got other ways. But with all the preparation we've done to get here, even with that, stuff's starting to wear a little thin. With all these injuries we're getting, you know, kind of working down the depth chart pretty far now. And I think if we want to be able to make an impact, you know, upon getting in the playoffs, then we need to look at the injuries we've had, along with what we've been doing that's made a big difference towards the end of the year, and restock the cupboards in these areas. Reload these impactful positions, if you will. So, I've made a list of some players out there, as I do. You know, I love to scout some of these guys out there. And it's a list of free agents and practice squad guys that we should, you know, pick up so they could possibly step in the case of emergency. I think it'd be best to bring these guys in ASAP so that they'd have a better handle on things by the time that either the playoffs come or the need arises. Like, this is a situation where we aren't really looking for future pieces like I normally like to, but more insurance policies. All the time, you know, all at the same time, I think a couple of these guys could end up as long-term solutions, but at the very least, you know, they're going to provide, or they could provide, a little bit of help when we need it the most. So, as I was going on here with my list, you know, had a little bit of breaking news today. Jamin Davis was placed in a concussion protocol, and then just yesterday, Khaleke Hudson had been moved to the IR. At this point, Landon Collins is still questionable. Our linebacking core is falling to pieces. And their success, along with the success of our secondary, has been a major part of everything coming together this last month. So, we're down to Holcomb, Kanazik, Mayo, Morris, and a freshly signed Milo Eifler from the Dolphins practice squad, instead of Shaquem Griffin, who Miami just released in October that we could have picked up. To be fair, Milo has some potential as a run defender, and he's a pretty hard hitter. But honestly, man, I mean, this group of linebackers isn't bad if we're trying to start a hair metal band. I mean, geez. Introducing Milo and the Mops. Look at these guys. Come on. Oh, yeah, ladies. They sure do. But this is a bad, bad place to be while we're trying to make a playoff run. Luckily, once again, the football gods throw us a lifeline. Just like when Bostic went down, the Cowboys released Jalen Smith. We weren't smart enough to jump on it then, but this time, today, Zach Cunningham was released. I've got a few videos talking about trading for this guy. And for him to just be out there free in our time of need is perfect. He's having a bit of a down season, but his team is complete trash. And it's been in complete disarray for a while. But when Watts abandoned ship and Watson tried to get, out before his legal issues, the bottom completely fell out of the team. And this is the perfect opportunity for us to upgrade our linebacker position. And like I've said, it desperately needs it right now. I think it's like 2 other videos I've talked about trading for him. And I personally think he's right around like a top 10 linebacker in the league. But he's, been horribly unhappy in his situation, and it's showing in his play. And, he had a suspension in week 12 because he showed up late for a COVID test because, he's just not feeling it. And I feel like bringing him in here and putting him with our group of guys that have all finally bought in and are playing inspired football, and our coaching staff that is motivating like no other, could be a jolt to get him back to top form, which is that of an absolute tackling machine. He's good at dropping into, zones and keeping the play in front of him, but he's a beast at shooting into the backfield for TFLs and just smothering the run in general. He's overall, he just gets it done. He would be perfect in the middle of this bend, don't break defense. This is not a guy that's going to miss tackles. This is not a guy that takes the wrong gap. He'd be perfect. He's a dependable Mike that can leave Holcomb and whoever else we got out there free to roam around and make plays. And, we need to restock. And with our dearth of quality linebackers, I think we should snatch him if he makes it to us on the wires. I wouldn't even let him clear wires to try to do anything. If he makes it to us on the waiver wires, sign him immediately, pick him up, claim him off the waivers. we don't want to, pass on him like we did with Jalen Smith, who, if we had picked him up, he would definitely be up to speed by now. And, he'd be up to speed by now if we'd have grabbed him after Green Bay let him go. Which brings me to my next guy. Speaking of Jalen Smith, he's a guy I pounded the table for when he got cut from Dallas. That was before Green Bay gave him a shot and ultimately let him go. People see red flags there, but I don't. I think Smith has had, I don't think Smith has had like some massive physical decline at only 26 years old like everybody else seems to think, which I think is kind of ridiculous for the type of athlete he is. I just think, like Cunningham, Smith is suffering from purely motivational issues. And I talked about it a ton in a video I made, when he was first released. I still think he presents at least Cole Holcomb level linebacker play. And if you don't think Jalen and Zach can give you better linebacker play than David Mayo, Jordan Kanazik, Jared Norris, and Milo Eifler, you better stop drinking right now. Or, take your meds. You're something's wrong with you. Something's off. We should be on the phone right now with both these guys because of our situation, getting them here yesterday. Now, we've seen a big boost in our linebacker, play, with Landon Collins moving there. But we've also got to see the hit it takes when he can't play. So, outside of definitely signing those two veterans, I think there are two young practice squad guys that could be great options, to offer a very similar skill set to Landon in case he goes down again. And these guys are way faster than the special team linebackers we got, so they could even step in on special teams and be there to really zoom down the field and get these tackles when they're not, being called on to fill in for Landon or something. But I recommended picking these guys up all season. And Landon moving to the position has showed that the skill set these guys have is a big value add to the defense. These two safeties turn linebackers are guys we should definitely take a look at. First, Tanner Muse. Look at the swag. Balled so hard he took the opponent's cheerleader home. Seriously. Tanner Muse is a beast. He's a big, freaky athletic safety, from Clemson. But unfortunately, he was overshadowed by an even bigger freak in Isaiah Simmons. So he kind of went unnoticed by, everybody except me and the Raiders, it seems. I really wanted to draft him last year to pretty much do exactly what Landon is doing at linebacker but I really think Tanner has better coverage abilities, across the middle. The Raiders drafted him in the 3rd round, but a foot surgery kept him, out last season. And he got waived around the time the Raiders signed KJ Wright this year. And Seattle snapped him up instantly to the practice squad. I think he can do everything Landon does in a pinch this year and possibly more at a far cheaper price moving forward. he has the skill set and athleticism that's making Landon excel, and it's one we really can't be without moving forward. If we want to get to the playoffs and do anything when we get there, we need a guy like this to be a security blanket. And yeah, definitely, even with getting those two veteran linebackers, just the role that Landon has had, this is a guy that could fill in perfectly for that. Another possible option here is stealing Philly's 6th-round pick off their practice squad, who's, got a very similar skill set and profile. Jacoby Stevens was my man in the draft this year from LSU. 6'2", 215. This year, he was my favorite safety to linebacker candidate in the draft. And he offers a slightly different skill set, trading a slight bit of run defense for a considerable threat in college coverage. As a former 5-star wide receiver recruit, like, this guy can hawk balls like nobody's business. It's not one of those things where they're like, oh, he plays defense because he can't catch. This guy can catch. And he does like to lay the wood, like, a lot, which is good and bad in my opinion. I know it causes some missed tackles, but I like a bit of nastiness. And check this out. I love that this guy has just a little bit of Michael Myers in him. I love how he admires his handiwork. After he's done crippled a wide receiver across the middle, just stands over him. That's hard. That's just, this is badass. Honestly, both these guys should be looked at not just to back up Landon, but, the linebacker position in general is getting real thin real quick. So, yeah, all of these guys. Just bring in these 4 guys and let the 4 guys we got on everybody but Holcomb that's healthy go. Secondary insurance is another huge area of concern. A huge part of why it's finally working is our secondary's finally clicking. With, Ben St. Juste already down, any further blow would be devastating. So, I think we need to get a few solid veteran corners in the building. Again, ASAP. To try to get them up to speed, in case anything happens to Fuller or William Jackson III. Losing them would pretty much just shut it all down. And we need to prepare in a way that gives us the smallest dropout. Well, we don't have nobody after that. Ben St. Juste is on the IR. These 2 are it. And then we're getting way down the list. So, with this in mind, 2 of the best, slot or nickel cornerbacks in like the last 5, maybe 10 years or so are both sitting on practice squads. I say last 5 years. They're both 29 years old. So I don't think they're like long-term options, but they could definitely provide some much-needed security in a rough spot. First off would be my first pick, Brian Poole, 5'10", 213 pounds. He's currently sitting on Indy's practice squad. Poole is the 13th most valuable cornerback in the league since 2019 when it comes to wins above replacement, the WAR stat. And he's only allowed 472 yards over 600 slot snaps. So he's shutting them down, and when they do catch the ball, they're not getting anywhere, which is perfect for our bend don't break defense. You know, Poole would be my first choice, but, you know, he's over on the Lions practice squad. So just sign him straight to the team. Just sign him right up. Next up, we got Robey-Coleman. He's out there. Actually, not. He's the one that's on the Lions practice squad. My bad. Like I said, Poole's on Indy's practice squad. Over on the Lions practice squad, Robey-Coleman. He's only 5'8", 180 pounds, but that's never stopped him. You know, he's been top tier slot cornerback his whole career. You know, save the last couple years in Philly where he just didn't fit their scheme. You know, he fits ours much better. You know, dropping in the zone, keeping the play in front of him, and closing the distance on the receiver while the ball's in the air. Like, he didn't have a chance to do that in Philly's defense, and it led to him having a lot of missed tackles. You know, him trying to run with, you know, receivers a little more than he likes. And with us, you know, he'd be back where he's comfortable, and he could provide some very reliable depth, you know, to help us out down the stretch. Also, like a situation now where we're going to be, you know, throwing out, you know, like third string guys with or fourth string guys, third or fourth string guys with Ben St. Juice in the IR. Like, this would definitely be much improved. Even this guy with as much experience as he has, him just coming in would be an improvement over, you know, like Danny Johnson. I'm sorry to say. I mean, he's played solid, but this guy's just, you know, solid, grizzled veteran. And those are more inside guys. And it's tough to find a cornerback out there that can do, you know, what we ask William Jackson III to do. Like, we play a lot of zone and, like, cover 3 stuff, but, like, we have him manning up, you know, the most. And, you know, still understanding Del Rio's zone defense. I think the only guy out there that would have a shot, you know, at actually understanding all this kind of quickly. Like, it took all year for William Jackson. Until a month ago, William Jackson was still struggling with it, and then it finally clicked. So it's a tough defense to learn. And like I said, I think there's only one guy out there who kind of have a shot at it. And might sound like a long shot, but that's Jack Del Rio's last first-round pick, Carrion Conley. Now, I've been saying we should bring him in all year, and I think now is definitely the time. His problem has been, you know, injury-related, and, you know, and the fact that he's been forced to play out of scheme, but in a possible short stretch, having an athlete of his caliber with, you know, something to prove like he would be a big help. You know, he already has an idea of Jack's defense because that's where he started out in the league. You know, with the Raiders, he was the prototype for what Ron and Jack have, you know, done, adapting, you know, a player with these high-end traits, you know, high-end man coverage traits to their zone scheme. You know, because of injury and Jack getting fired, they didn't get a chance to continue developing it. But Conley has the base, and they could bring him up or bring him in and start working towards it again, just to have a fail-safe in case William Jackson III goes down. Like, he is, like I said, he's like the prototype for, you know, William Jackson III, like how we're using him. And he's a former first rounder. He's still only 25 years old. And somehow he's not on a roster at all. Like, he's played really good football at times, but injury concerns and stuff like that, it's kind of, pushed him out of the league a little bit. I say we bring him in. Jack thought enough of him to take him in the first round before. Bring him in now. We need some depth. We also got Bobby McCain that's finally clicking. And we've seen, the difference he's making. So the time, of messing around is over, Ron. With it. If he goes down, we are screwed. With some of the deep threats we have left, Ron needs to swallow his pride, whatever it is, whatever he's got going on that's kept him from doing this. And Trey Boston needs to be on this team. Bobby McCain is the only guy that can play free safety on our roster. DeShazer Everett? No. I want to have faith that Derek Force can, but he's been injured most of the season, and he's a rookie. We can't depend on that. Jeremy Reeves played okay, but I really don't want to get into the playoffs and then have Jeremy Reeves, have it on Jeremy Reeves' shoulder. Go out and get Trey Boston, Ron. I don't know what the deal is. We need this guy. He should have been here all year. This probably would have clicked together a lot sooner when you had somebody that knew your stuff already. But I digress. I think we have plenty of depth across the defensive line. So, not really worried about that. At most, I'd hope, for a possible return of, Justice Reed from Virginia Tech, who looked good in preseason, or maybe even from, year before last, Jordan Brailford. He's a free agent. Maybe bring those guys in if we absolutely need to, but otherwise, I think we're good. And if God forbid something happens to Cameron Curl at strong safety, that's a spot maybe DeShazer Everett could handle. He's definitely not no free safety. And I even think that Derek Forrest, could probably, even as a rookie, give us some competent play there, just because he's a great athlete. And, he was great in Cincinnati. So I think we're fine there. But let's go into the other side of the ball, the offensive side of the ball. I think our biggest hit is Logan Thomas, basically gone. Save for some slim chance of return if, we make it deep into the playoffs. And to boot, Ricky Seals-Jones is banged up. One of the first guys I think we should bring in to try to cover the loss of Logan Thomas is Bucky Hodges, 26 years old, super athlete homer, 6'6", 257 pounds, from Virginia Beach, Virginia. He played at Virginia Tech, football, basketball, track athlete. He had a workout for Jay Gruden, but now we got Pete Honer working magic. I think he's Logan Thomas 2.0 from an athletic profile standpoint. And I think he would be a great guy to bring in to try to ease the loss of Logan. They're practically the same guy. Hodges was recruited to Virginia Tech to replace Logan himself as the quarterback. But when he got there, he saw Logan, who had been drafted, switching over to tight end in the NFL, and he did the same thing right away at Virginia Tech. So that he's like, oh, well, if that's what he's doing, that's probably what I'm going to have to do. Let me get a jump on it. So he got a developmental jump with all his college years being at tight end. Bucky and Logan are both 6'6", 250 plus, but Bucky just edges Logan out slightly at everything athletic. 4'5'7", 40 to Logan's 4'6'1". 37-inch vert to Logan's 35.5. 11'2" broad to Logan's 9'10". Bucky has a 9.73 RAS, where Logan has a 9.65. I think Bucky just needs what Logan did to break out. Some good old Pete Honer coaching and a quarterback willing to chuck it up to him and just give him a shot. I think Hodges could fill the role of an insurance policy with the ability to actually be a future piece. Like, this could be a guy, another Logan Thomas moving forward. So that's definitely a guy I think we need to get. With Logan out of the offense, that hurts us tremendously. We need to at least, bring in his clone. So, moving on, I know we've done well with our wide receiver group, in the face of a lot of injuries. And we now seem to be getting everybody back healthy, but in the spirit of bringing in another local insurance policy or policies, I have a couple guys we should bring in. First off, talked about him in my roadmap video. Joe Reed, 6 foot tall, 220 pounds, from Virginia. Kick return, wide receiver, running back, straight up gadget. He's a bigger, faster, younger DeAndre Carter. He's got a 4.47 40, where Carter runs like a 4.56 or something like that. And he's a lot bigger. Carter's like 5'8", 180 pounds. This guy's 6 foot 220. And they're running the same. Now, he's on the Chargers injured practice squad, since like the season started with an ankle injury. But he's practiced, quite a few times since then. So I think they're just trying to stash him, trying to hide him. Now, I talked about him a good bit in my roadmap video. This is a guy I think could help out all over the place. He could wear many hats in the case of injuries. And he's the kind of guy that Ron drools over with his position flex and speed. So Joe Reed's definitely a guy we should probably give a call. And then I just threw a wide receiver in there because, man, somebody needs to give this guy a call. Travis Fulgham, 6'2", 215 pounds. Another Old Dominion product like Heineke, except Fulgham is actually a local Ashburn native, forged in the shadow of our training facility, the Innova Sports Performance Center. Last season, he showed, what he could do, dominating the Steelers secondary. In one game, he had 10 catches, 154 yards, and a touchdown on the Steelers. And then, when he played the Cowboys, he dominated Trevon Diggs. He showed that ODU Heineke-style moxie. When he's out there, he continues to fight to get open and give his, quarterback. When the quarterback's under pressure, he's going to be fighting to give him an out. And I think maybe just like Taylor, though, the fact that he's more of a game time player than a practice player is why he isn't starting somewhere right now. You know, he's a big, strong, contested catcher that still gets separation. He can take a shot when he's catching, hold on to the ball and keep going, bounce off guys. I really don't know why Philly let this guy out of the building or why the Colts haven't signed him, but he's on the Dolphins practice squad, and I think, you know, he could be a nice depth piece at the very least. Let AGG go. Bring this hometown fella on. He's everything you wanted out of him. I mean, I love Kelvin Harmon too, but this is a local cat that's got everything he's got. And I could definitely see him, you know, coming in a pinch, you know, during the playoffs or even against, you know, his old team, Philly, in week 17, but in front of his home crowd. And putting up a Steelers-like, you know, performance for the home team. Like I said, 10 catches, 150 yards, and a touchdown that game. He was balling. Otherwise, you know, say we're pretty good offensively. I think we're pretty good at finding offensive linemen. You know, they've been really successful at juggling them already this year. So, you know, I won't draw it out. But here's a couple guys to end it off with that I think, you know, we can make work in a pinch. First off, Rick Wagner, 32 years old. He's straight up plug and play. Was still playing at a very high level last year in the playoffs for the Packers. He could be, you know, that kind of insurance policy for us. Just like they had him last year, like we could have him this year. Then Roderick Johnson, I've talked about him in other videos. He's on the Dolphins practice squad. Talked about him in my roadmap video. He's got all the tools. He's got insane, elite length. He's never had a decent coach in his whole career. Well, he's only 25, but, you know, in like the 4 years he's been in the NFL, he's never had a decent coach. He's narrowly missed them in his time with the Browns, and, you know, he's never had a good coach. So he's got all the tools. He's somebody I think we could maybe even make into like a long-term piece. And then that interior offensive line is getting ate up for us. So Forrest Lamp got a 9.12 RAS. He was highly projected, you know, former early second round pick. You know, he had a broken leg that set him back, but now, you know, he's on the Saints practice squad and he's healthy. I mean, he's probably only there because they got a good, deep offensive line there, so they got him stashed on a practice squad. But I think we could really get the most out of this guy. We'll bring those elite traits out of him and get him working. And he could be a great comfort for us, you know, as a depth piece. And finally, this is only if we don't mind the idea of an equipment manager or some maintenance crew people, you know, possibly coming up missing. Because just look at this fucking guy. He's a complete psychopath. Look at him. Patrick Morris, center. There's another guy with some great athletic traits. He's got a 9.84 RAS. I made fun of him for looking like a psycho in our defense versus their offense video when he was in the Broncos roster. But I mean, come on, just look at it. This guy really looks like he eats people. But like I said, he's got some great physical tools that our coaches could really tap into. And with all our centers dropping like flies, he could be a possible upgrade to a group already playing lights out. So, yeah, that's what I got for now. You know, there's a ton of other guys out there that could bolster the roster. with that we could bolster the roster with. But these are some of the best candidates, I think. I think we should bring in and bring these guys in, and it would give us the best possible shot to be able to field a competitive team if the worst case scenarios happen and we find ourselves in the playoffs and an important guy goes down. We could really have a good piece ready behind him. But let me know what you guys think down below. Should we be snatching up some healthy depth for the playoff push? At this point, do you think it matters? Do you think we're going to be able to get in the playoffs? Or do you think just signing these guys would be a waste of money because our season's about to be over? But, since, we're all in on playoff mode, I just don't want to see it all come crashing down over injury. But yeah, thanks for watching. Please hit that like button. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Go get on your girlfriend, your wife, your husband, whoever's YouTube and subscribe from their account. Help me out. Please help me grow the channel. Getting a little stagnant there. That's probably my fault. I put a lot of time in these videos, and sometimes that makes the time between them really long. And I'm sorry for that. Trying to do better. But, yeah, please comment down below. Let me know what you think about where our season's going. If y'all watch this long, I love y'all. Peace.